Call the meeting to order. Everybody could stand with me, please, and say the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heining.
Here.
Leach.
Here.
Thompson.
Here.
Young.
Here.
Zimmerman.
Here.
Lambert.
Here. First order of business is initiating the oath of office to our newly appointed board member, Cindy Nugent. If you could please stand. First off, welcome.
Thank you. That's a nice way to welcome me to the board.
And if you could please stand and read off the oath of office for us, please.
Do I need to raise a hand or just read it?
Just read it.
Just read it. I, Cynthia Nugent, do solemnly swear that I shall faithfully discharge the duties of the office of a member of the Board of Education of Winthrop School District 1 in accordance with the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of Illinois, and the laws of the State of Illinois to the best of my ability. I further swear that I shall respect the taxpayers' interests by serving as a faithful protector of the school district's assets. I shall encourage and respect the free expression of opinion by my fellow board members and others who seek a hearing before the board while respecting their privacy of students and employees. I shall recognize that the board, as a board member, has no legal authority as an individual, and that decisions can only be made by the majority vote at a public board meeting. And I shall abide by the majority decisions of the board while retaining the right to seek change in such decisions through ethical and constructive channels.
Congratulations. Welcome back. Welcome back.
And I can join the table now?
We have a seat for you right here. Here's right on the hot seat. Here we go.
Next order of business is the recognitions of the students of the month.
Always a highlight in the board meeting, an opportunity to recognize some of our students who work hard every day and come to school and do the right thing. And so we appreciate them doing that and want to recognize them, but we also appreciate the parents who come out here and show their children how important it is. We'll start with Evan Jackala. Evan, come on up. Space them while I read something, okay? And then we'll give you some certificates. Yeah, let everybody see it. I would like to nominate Evan Jackala as the Student of the Month. He is a great student to have in class. He is conscientious about his work. He always has his work incomplete and puts forth great effort. I also can always count on him to be a good role model for the other students in class. I know he is always listening and always contributes to class discussion. The most important thing about Evan is that he's a good friend to the other students in class and very respectable to everyone. And we really appreciate that, Evan. Now you got to turn around and shake your hand there. Get a certificate so you can go to Barnes & Noble and pick up a book, okay? Very good. Thank you. Appreciate your hard work. Maisie Davidson. And then turn around so everybody can see it, okay? Maisie is what you call a teacher's dream student. Even though Maisie is quiet at times, it's her smile that will warm your heart. She is a conscientious student with love of learning. Maisie always has a positive attitude and is very responsible. Maisie's excellent work is a reflection of her great attitude and effort. Maisie's sweet personality is why she is so well liked by her peers and teachers at Westfield, and we appreciate having her very much. Thank you, Maisie. Congratulations. Yeah. There you go. Thank you very much. Mary Du Bois. Mary is very quiet, but has a brilliant smile when she comes out of her shell. She's an extremely hard worker and puts extra effort into all of her work, and we appreciate very much having her in our class. Thank you very much, Mary. And the same thing. Barnes & Noble, okay? Thank you very much, Mary. Bryce?
Grace.
By now you got the drill, right? Congratulations. Nope, stick around here. Okay, you Bryce has steadily improved his skills this year. He is fun-loving, but knows when to settle down, more or less. He participates and helps others who are struggling. He is also a winner of the spelling bee, and we appreciate Bryce.
Good job. Good job.
One of the things we've begun this year, and it was talked about with the union and with the school, is the idea that we should be looking at employee recognition each month. And so Beth McLean is an employee this month. Beth is a silent, relentless force that does so much to help our students and teachers with their reading and computer skills. Beth is always in a good mood and has a smile on her face. In all the years that she's worked in our district, she has never uttered an unkind word about anyone or anything. I don't think she knows what complaining is or means, because I've never heard her complain about anything that she's been asked to do. I think she's the only person I've ever known that has never had a bad day, and personally is always pleasant. Beth puts the books needed to supplement our reading program. She sets up the computers for our kids to practice math testing skills. She organizes much of our AR program and the Six Flags reading that allows our students to earn tickets to Six Flags. She does all this and much more, and I'm probably not even aware of it. She has been a valuable member of our staff for many years and certainly is worth the recognition for all her hard work and contributions to the district and the school. Parents, again, we appreciate you guys coming out and being here. At the same time, we know it's late in this evening and people want to leave and take the kids home. We appreciate you coming. Thank you very much. And we appreciate your hard work to keep supporting us. We need it.
Congratulations, Grace.
Good night.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks.
See ya.
Thanks for coming.
Bye.
See you later.
Good ladies, girls.
Boys, stick up the bed.
Okay, at this time we will open up the floor for public comments and questions. Nobody has any, then we're going to close the floor for public comments and questions and move on to the consent agenda items. This time I'll be looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda items A, B, and C.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
I called and I talked to Dennis earlier today about the amount of money that we are spending to constantly have our furnace repaired.
Yep.
And I'm not saying that we shouldn't pay it. I think we should, because obviously keep the kids stuff. But I'd like to possibly start looking to see how much we're spending versus is it fiscally more responsible to get a newer system or upgrade
Is
it
that here or is that?
Here.
No, it's been, unfortunately, it's been an
Right.
ongoing problem.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering if our building and grounds, or that's the name of the committee, could possibly start in the future looking at that.
Okay.
Yeah, that's stage of rule over.
Some numbers on it and then talk about it.
No, that's fine.
Yep. It is, Ted, the sense I have is that we've got heat more often consistently in the building since we started using RUB. But that it never really was, when we had somebody else, we still paid money.
They gave us a state-of-the-art system in 1999. Too ambitious. The control guys blame the other guys,
We've upgraded both, Chris.
That's what I thought.
We've worked with,
Hot water?
And I know I did talk to, I talked to my son, who's a 7th grader here, and he said it's really warm in the mornings, but afternoons after lunch, it seems to get a lot colder. So I don't know if there's a adjustment in the timing or what, so.
Sure can move them.
Sure.
Okay, sorry.
Anything else? Dan, can you call roll, please?
Heine,
Yes.
Leach,
Yes.
Nugent,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Young,
Yes.
Zimmerman,
Yes.
Lambert.
Yes. And now on to the information items. North Prairie Principals update. Anything? Pat, how about you? Anything? Great. Mid-year financial review.
You guys can turn to the little section in your packet.
And Dan,
Yes, sir.
do we have any extra folks?
Right now, no.
That's fine. I'm gonna, back to one table, where I got 3 people.
So, things past that, but as you guys know,
Sorry.
we've kind of been putting together like a quarterly review to kind of
Here you go.
give you an idea of how we have been performing. You guys get the statements every month, but you know, there's a lot of numbers on those pages, and what does that mean? What does it look like? So for a good couple of years now, we've been doing this. Well, now we're past halfway through the year, and December's in the books, and so we can look at we're halfway through the fiscal year and just kind of take a snapshot to see where we are. So I'll walk through this more brief than I've done in the past because it's the same structure, just updated information. Start with the revenues. As you know, or may know now, we have 3 main sources of revenues: our local revenues, which make up 88% of our budget, our state revenues, which is 8%, and then our federal revenues, which is 3%. So far this year, if you can see on our local revenues how much we've received just under 50%, which is very typical for this time of year. We've gotten most of our revenue from the property taxes in September, and it kind of trickles in after that. We won't really get taxes in again until May and June. That's when the new taxes will come in, and that number will fill out real quick. So that the local revenues will stay pretty consistent from between now and May. So next time we do a quarterly report, these numbers are going to be very similar. We'll have some little money trickling here and there, but the big chunk, which is our property taxes, we won't get till May and June. State revenue is 71% collected, or basically 72% collected. That is great news considering the state of Illinois. When we budgeted, we were extremely conservative because the past trends of Illinois have been kind of bleak and them not giving us money when we're supposed to. So as of right now, they've given us 2 quarterly payments this year. We're supposed to get 4 every year. However, the 2 that they've given us are ones they owed us from last year. So we technically haven't gotten any of the quarterly payments from them yet this year. They've been issued, but we don't actually have the cash yet. So I think we built in the budget that we're going to get 1 more quarterly payment. I think when we could look at a budget amendment and to get another quarterly payment. I think it's very reasonable that we might get 2 more by the time the end of the year comes, because there's a lot. I mean, there's 6 months is a long stretch, so we can look at that. And we'll keep watching that pretty closely. Federal revenue is 22%. It's very typical. They don't give us the money right away. We also have to. We're waiting on reimbursement from CDAW. That's where a lot of our money flows through from the feds. It goes into CDAW, and then CDAW gives it to us, so we're waiting on that. But that's pretty typical for our federal revenue. And as you can see, our federal revenue is not much money compared to the total budget. When you look at the graph, revenue budget versus received, just to give you an idea of the graph, if you're maybe a more visual person, you can see visually how the state and federal don't really compare too much to the local. Looking at expenses, I organize them by our different objects that we use. So there's salaries, benefits, purchase services, supplies, capital outlay, other, and tuition. Salaries are just like what it says, it's salaries for employees. As right now you can see we're 55% spent. That's largely due to the fact that we've had, typically in a year, we'll have 2 months out of the year that we have 3 pays. Usually we're every other week, so that means for 10 months out of the year, we have 2 pays a month, and then 2 months there's 3 pays in a month. It just so happened this year that the structure worked out that we've already had the 2 months with 3 pays each. So we've front loaded a lot more salary by this time than we usually do. Also the fact that we had a number of people that rolled off
people that we've had to let go from last year, they get paid a couple pays into the fiscal year, so that's why it's higher right now. Benefits are right on target at 50%, that's what we're expecting. Purchase services and supplies are both reasonably low. They spend some at the beginning of the year, but there hasn't been a whole lot spent. You guys have seen the computer purchase that they're doing. That's going to raise that number, obviously, because that's a capital purchase that we're going to do. Other, it's about, the budget, it says 800,000. We spent a little over $500,000. That's because we made our payment. We make every year, once a year, basically, we'll make our big debt payment. It's like our big mortgage payment, except we only make it once a year. We did that in December. So that's mostly spent. You won't see much more going on in that fund. It might move a little bit, but the majority of our payments are done. Tuition, that's how much we paid towards CEDAW. As you can see, it's higher than kind of where we were expecting a little bit right now, but that budgeting for CEDAW is an extremely difficult thing because you have no idea what students can walk into your door or what students are going to leave. And so that's always been a touchy light item, but we'll keep watching it. And I think they're working on a solution, at least potentially, for some of the special ed costs. But they'll get into that a little bit later. Again, there's that little graph. You can see kind of where we're at visually. Salaries obviously take up the bulk. They take 50% of our budget. If you turn to the next page, if you compare the money that we've spent versus the money that we've received, so you can look at our actuals, and we've now spent about $600,000 more than we received. It's again because we get money, basically, our big chunks of money we get 2 times a year. But throughout the whole year, we kind of spend pretty evenly as we go. And so this is the second quarter, so it looks reasonable. Third quarter always is the worst. So I keep trying to tell you that and remind you that this is looking down. The third quarter is going to worse. It always looks worse. But once fourth quarter comes and goes, everything will level out. And if you look at the fund balance, the cash balances, you can see I put the last 5, 6 quarters here. And we're higher than where we were a year ago at this point in time, both in our fund balance and in our cash. But we're going to be looking at doing TAWs within the next couple months. We're waiting on some reports back from PMA to find out exactly how much we're going to want to borrow and for how long. I think it was right around the $1 million mark, which is similar to last year, but I think the time we need to borrow it is going to be shorter, just because we've made the cuts and hopefully the cash flow will match. In the graph, you can see just kind of an up and down flow of our cash flow and fund balance, and that's a very typical graph. So that's basically it. And also on Thursday, I checked to see how much the state owes us, and currently it's around $200,000, which has been what they've been owing us for a while. If you remember last quarter, it was down to like 100,000, which was great, but stuff starts adding up again, and hopefully they'll give us some money soon. Yeah.
Just in helping you back up to speed, the CEDAW money, is that students or is that building thing? Did we pay that off one time?
Yep,
The building?
that was paid off good 2 years ago now, and
This is all
students.
Just to kind of answer a question, CEDAW students moving in, there are 3 students this year who moved in, 2 with extremely significant challenges and 1 with a fairly significant challenge. So there's 3 that we immediately have to pick up.
We had no idea that was happening. So we probably will be over our CEDAW budget.
One of the kids we just sent
to
CEDAW,
it is what it is.
but one of the ones we just sent to CEDAW, it was ours, moved out of our district. Again, so someone else will be picking up the cost for him. So Dan said, it's just so unpredictable. They're moving all the time. But if we do bring back these 2 from CEDAW for the rest of the year, CEDAW could be down if we, in areas, would answer questions about the LOP. If we put in an LOP program and bring back a couple of kids, then yeah, potentially you could. And if we have space in there, if John or Bob had somebody they wanted to transport in, it's possible you could sell a spot and make a buck or 2. So quite often. So it could be, Jim, like Dan said, I mean, it's a guess, but there's some possibles out there that make it reasonable. Yeah.
A bigger portion of the CEDAW at the beginning of the year, they charge a bigger chunk before it spreads out?
I don't know how often they do this.
Okay.
The front
Pre-bill,
ones.
they do a pre-bill.
Doesn't even pay.
Yeah, because they have to
we've had
have the
some
money to
worse.
be,
So that
they're
levels
paying,
out.
yes, they level theirs out.
Next item, FOIA request.
We had a FOIA request that was for 6 months of the check register. And I think just somebody was gonna put it on their website, and it's not a bad thing. A number of school districts do it. Probably at some point, I may look at us trying to put more things on. It just takes time to do it, and we have to get ourselves a little more organized for it. But I'd much rather have people get information from us if they want it than have it going out every which way. And I think that's a resource that at some point we'll be probably looking at doing. It wasn't a problem for me. It was, I don't think it was. One of the things we could have done, according to the attorney, is we could have scratched off the employees' names that were there. And one of the things, kind of protect the employees' names, but at the same time, it seems like if I'm going through and scratching stuff off, somebody might be thinking, well, what are they trying to hide? And so there's no reason to do that. We just put it out and give it to them and let it be. There's nothing, not a problem with it. So.
And we have 4 board policies.
Home and hospital instruction. I know it's homebound hospitalized, right? But we have students, and if they miss, and I don't remember the numbers in there, I think it may be 5 there, just 5 school days with the physician's statement and the parent requested, we have to provide homebound or hospitalized education. And if a kid's in the hospital and they're going to be there for 2 months, then we have to provide education to them. And in many instances, the hospital has somebody there doing that. So they're servicing any of the students who are there, and they bill us for it. And so this is a policy that, in effect, there's a few changes to it, but it just deals with us having students who are home and hospitalized.
Sometimes it's a slippery slope because the hospitals will charge an outrageous amount of money, so it's always better to have our staff do it. Usually it's the teacher who's been, working with the student, knows them.
Have we had this for a while?
Yeah, we've had it. It's not a lot, but you do have it, and it's something, it's not, if the student's going to be out for a month or 2, it's really a good idea. I mean, for us as well as them, obviously you're paying money for it, but the student's going to come back and you want them to fit back in and be able to pick up stuff and go. So it's something that we can be doing and do. We don't have a ton of it.
Is this law?
Yeah.
Pardon me,
It says at least 2 days. If they're out, if it's anticipated they're going to be out 2 days. Multiple times in the school year.
Right. But it's a change in the law.
Every day.
The
The
next,
doctors know it's
you would, we don't know. So, yeah, so it's okay. Yes, they did. English language learners, so you have a policy on that, and we've not had much of that. And the reality is our population is changing, and we have a more diverse population. I think dramatically in the 5 years I've been here, just a huge change. And so we do have to address that, and Gary handles the ESL kind of testing that we do with students to try to make sure the students have access to programming if they need it. So if their language spoken at home is not English, then we have to test them and determine if they're fluent or if they would be hindered in going to school because they don't speak English well enough. And if they are, then we have to provide support for them with that. And so we have to test any of the new ones coming in who don't have English as the main language spoken at home.
Do we have teachers that are ESL, I don't know, do you get certification for it? And what
There's one right now.
The majority of our students, at times we have students that we try to find different software for, different programming for. We've even taken one of the old computers and sent it home with one of the students that had software on it that we thought they could practice with. So you do some different things. We don't have a lot of people who are ESL, but we don't have a bunch of students that really need the services. In many instances, our students are the best English speakers in the family, and we have numbers of them where English is not spoken at home. But even in those cases, many of the students are fairly fluent, so we don't have as much of an issue.
By law, when students register for the first time to transfer, you have to have them fill out a municipal form, ask 2 questions. Does your child speak a language other than English? Do you speak a language other than English? And if there's yes to either of those questions, you have to screen them, even though they may be perfectly fluent. So we give them a screening test. Based on the screening test, that might require more involved evaluation. And in terms of the services, it can be a combination of anything. Obviously, we're not big enough, don't have enough English language learners to have a classroom, but we have to work some sort of thing out with them. So as we're saying, we'll do maybe a little bit of work with a speech therapist, consult in the classroom, with some software, do some books and things like that. Find some way to provide what they need.
Instruction, just extracurricular, co-curricular, just guidelines for instructional materials and just information guidelines for us with instruction.
So the yellow is just kind of,
The yellow is the new stuff.
that's
The stuff that they
optional, but
put in. Well,
the
some of
content
it's
of work and.
right, and then they give you down here if there are optional pieces that you can. So some of them they'll say they'll have a piece of language in there, and then down at the bottom where they have those footnotes, that they'll give you another option, so you can change those.
Because I'm just questioning, I know it says no R rated,
Right.
but obviously that would be it. But are we also then looking at the curriculum or whatever that, are we going like the movie standard PG-13? I mean, most of our kids are younger, so that would be something I would think we. NC-17. So, okay.
So I'd say we send permission for slips home on anything other than G anyway, don't we?
I don't.
Do anything other than PG.
If it's
Usually
Okay.
So, and that says that you have to get, it's first permission from the superintendent.
Quite honestly, the licensing for movies is so restrictive that we can show anything that's not.
And I wasn't implying that
No,
we would be doing it,
we
I
used
just,
to. I mean,
the
even like at
policies seem
recess
kind of
time or
broad.
something that if it was indoor recess or something, but we really
You're breaking
too
the
much
law.
of that at all.
Right.
Okay.
These will come up for vote next month.
next month, correct.
No, I didn't.
And the ones we just went over, they're for next month.
Oh.
All right, on to the action items. Item A, you're looking for a motion to appoint the superintendent to prepare a tentative budget for fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2012 and ending June 30th, 2013.
This is something we've never done. Dan said that in some of his coursework, it's pretty normal that people are doing it, and we do that every year with the budget. But we just go and do it in this, then in effect, you guys are saying, get going. So,
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Dan, call roll, please.
Leach.
Yes.
Nugent.
Yes.
Thompson. Young.
Yes.
Zimmerman. Lambert.
Yes.
Heining.
Yes.
And board policies, 4 board policies for last month. 660, 680, 6100, 6130. I'll be looking for a motion to approve those 4 board policies.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Call roll.
Nugent.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Young.
Yes.
Zimmerman.
Yes.
Lambert,
Yes.
Hreining,
Yes.
Leach.
Yes.
I wanted to start with Gary and the LOP program, and if you have any questions about it, I had it in last Friday's phone call for you. And there are 2 students we have out of the district in CEDO. I believe that's right, Gary? 2?
Well, there's a number, but we're looking at 2 specifically.
To bring back to this program that we're doing. So then we would have those 2 back. We got 2 new students, one of which we're really pretty sure qualifies, the other one might. So we would have at least 3, and I gave you the numbers last time in the phone call showing that really 2 makes it work and 3 is extra money. We have interviews set up for tomorrow, and we have a number of potential candidates for that teaching position. So I wanted Gary here in case there were questions about when are you guys going out to look at the work that the students are now in?
Wednesday.
So we bring back the class, we do have a physical classroom in Weston.
Yes.
We got room for them. So
See,
we
that-
got,
That's
we got a
really the
classroom.
issue.
Okay. Yeah, I know room is.
Through the years, we've never had to do that. We legally, for kids who are really severely eligible, basically, to send them to an alternative site. But now we have the opportunity, and it's really being pushed by the fact that we have 2 students who have moved in who are pretty significantly delayed. And there's another student that we've had here about a year or 2 who also is really struggling. So if you're looking at what the tuition is, which is like $18,000, $19,000, and what we would end up paying for the transportation that we're not reimbursed, it's about $25,000. So
A student.
yes. So the 2 students coming back would be about $50,000, but if you're looking at a teacher's salary, $40,000 or so.
Well, plus we get them, I mean, I'm sure the parents would rather have them back and.
I already spoke to one set of parents,
Right.
and
Right.
yes, they're very willing to do that. I called into the other one, so we're waiting. But if we were to be forced to put one of these 3 students who are currently here, that would be another $25,000. So we would be saving a total like $41,000. Another would be $66,000. So if we can keep these 3 students who are here and have these 2, we're ending up saving about $91,000. And that's
How
year
many
after.
teachers would that classroom be able to, help with the teacher? How many students could the teacher?
The way it's worked out in special ed now, you go by percentage of minutes. So for kids who have 61 to 100% of the minutes, you can have a maximum of 8. And you can add a couple more with an 8. And then it goes lower, and then it's like 40 to 60. It's like 12 students, which is kind of where our resource classes are.
You think this is something we'll be able to sustain in
As long
the
as there's
future?
room, yeah. I mean, really.
Meaning we should have plenty of kids to fill.
Yes,
Versus
yes.
we're not going to be ending up with 1 kid in the class
No.
at any foreseeable time.
Now, and there's other students that we can bring back, but one of the other issues is you can't have more than a 4-year age range. So almost all of us, just looking at it tonight, might fit into that age range. But again, students come into the district with real needs,
Right.
and you got to do something. So this would be an opportunity to keep them there. Kids are moving in here.
And be more cost efficient.
And you
Yes.
guys have been trying to get us to look at special ed programs with the other districts. So it may be that we couldn't get them to take our students, but maybe us getting going will still move in the direction of trying to do some shared programming with some of the other districts, as well as cost effective.
What's always been in the districts is what we need, they don't need. What they need, we don't need. So we've never been able
Well,
to
they
really.
also, they would have like 2 or 3 slots. So say it's an 8 slot one, they've got 2 openings, but the special ed director doesn't want to give us one of those openings because if they get 2, then they got to hire another teacher, right? And so they really kind of guard their slots, and so they've had places where I could have shipped our kids to, but they didn't want to. But if we have 3 or maybe even 4, and we have potential for 8, there's probably 1 or 2 we can pick up and more the offset again more of our costs, and begin the process of working together with somebody.
So the difficulty is with students who have really severe behavior. Those are very difficult to get a class together, get the support services, the social work, the psychiatric services. Kids whose behaviors are compliant, that's not an issue, so you work on really good reading and math. And that's something that we can do. It really could help you resource teachers. And I go to those classes all the time, and all of the teachers are good. We really can do as good a job, if not better, to be honest with you. So it's a really better opportunity for them.
We're not bringing back BB.
Right. Exactly.
You still have transportation though, but it's not going to be traveling to Timbuktu. It's just going to be
Within the district? We still would not have to provide it because they would be going to the school that they would normally go to.
So
Not
they
physically.
don't have
in
it.
their IEP.
That's only for shipping them somewhere else. Where it's,
Right. The law says that they have to go to school where they would normally go to school, which would be Westfield. But if the program's not here, if we had it at like Spring Bluff, like we used to have with the childhood kids, so that necessitated it. But if we're going to another district, you have to provide it. But the law states, and it, in fact it's very clear, you try to transport them with regular ed kids as much as possible, even if they're in wheelchairs.
Kathy, if they
that
had,
would be retained that are coming back, have siblings right now at Westfield.
Oh,
So it shouldn't be an issue because
if their disability was a reason for them to be transported, then you'd have to transport them even to their local. So if their specific disability was related to the need for transportation, they were in a wheelchair, then potentially you'd have to do transportation. But if they're LD, then that's not, transportation's not the issue. Bid requirements, one of the board members asked, and typically it's $25,000, but even like with the technology bid, one of the board members talking about that, there are a lot of categories that aren't covered under it. So the technology one is one of those categories as well. Quote for mailing, and when we did the interviewing of board members, one of the things that kept coming up was that communication was important, and for a period of time there were people that were really doing a lot of negative communication, and that was potentially affecting people's perceptions of the stuff that we're doing, and people maybe weren't even as aware. And that a number of those persons who were candidates shared with us the importance for us to do better and more communication with lots of our residents. So what I tried to do was get you a quote as to what it would cost us for a newsletter that was 8.5 by 17 by 11, so that it would look like this, 4 pages, and you would have 4 pages of information. So if we did one of those and sent it to every home in Winthrop Harbor, the cost would be someplace between $1,200 and $1,300.
Each time we send.
Each one, yep. They have it printed with 2-color paper and printed, put together, folded, and ready to be mailed. And then the mailing would be someplace around $200 potentially. So you'd be someplace around $1,400. If we were to do something like that, my recommendation would be to start like a summer and then maybe the first year do 2. And if we thought they worked out well and people really thought they liked it, then you might look at doing a 3rd one or something. We're going to have a planning session sometime come spring, and that would be something at the planning session. What you're looking at is one of the things Kim talked about before, preschool. I think it's very reasonable we could look at offering preschool next year and trying to have more of our children who in a kindergarten have had a preschool program. And so that makes kindergarten more effective, 1st grade better. But again, and I think we could do that without any cost to the taxpayers, because we'll have made some money off the before and after school care program. They'll have money sitting in the bank. You can go ahead and try it. If you don't have enough people to pay for it, the money you made on the other one will offset you. So but again, back to the planning session, the communication and or the preschool and or talking about a number of things, and you guys figuring what we ought to be doing to make the greatest difference for the residents and the students. So this was just information from you. It came up, there were comments about it, and it seemed like something maybe we ought to be thinking about. Not trying to sell it, just trying to say to you, done it, no, we can do it. The first one he put together, Dan we did it online. The last one we did was 8 pages, and it took Dan someplace between 40 and 45 hours to put together. So that's why I was saying summer would be the first one we would do, because they get quicker as you go along, but you need to get practice, and we probably get some different equipment a little bit. So I'd get a bigger computer screen potentially, and maybe a different software program. But again, that's something for if you guys are thinking.
Just a tidbit of information that you didn't know, I don't know if you know because you're not a resident, but they did just send out the department newsletter.
Yeah, she did. Yeah.
So that's what we used to do.
Right.
The superintendent would put a note in.
I've got a meeting set up with a couple of the people there, and so one of the things would even be, and what are they paying, and what would it cost to add a couple of pages to that?
Right.
So potentially you could do the same thing. And you guys have asked me, and I still haven't been able to hook up, but you've asked me about making sure we have on their website a link to ours, and on our website a link to theirs. And so I'll be talking about the same thing.
Even if we were to see who actually prints theirs, and what the cost from them would be, because they're already purchasing the address list. That would be a savings.
Open Meetings Act training, that was information from ISB, computer purchase, and again, one of the questions that came out of the capital expense technology budget. And I think we had $35,000 in there is what it shows, and so that's specifically what that's for, and this is replacing the teachers' computers, and they've been going down, right, Heather? The teachers' computers.
We try to keep her calm on that one.
So the new ones are coming.
I was not aware.
Not soon enough, I know. One of the board members asked me to look at the idea of IT management costs, and so I gave you information on that. Board candidate, thank you for Laura Wagner, one of the people who interviewed with you. And just the USA Today article on e-textbooks. And again, times some of you guys have talked about technology, and we have to keep looking at it. It's interesting. Apple thinks they have vendors who make up 90% of the high school textbooks, and they could sell textbooks for $14.95 a piece. And so you would be able to take your iPad and load 5 textbooks on them, and that would be, yeah, $75. Well, and then just think of the books the kids don't have to lug around, right?
Using the iPad for the work.
I think, Jim, they're figuring a kid can enter as a freshman. The school district can buy it because the school district in Minneapolis is paying for a chunk of the textbook, right? And if you're going from $30 or $40 or $50 per textbook to $14.95, you can afford across, so that student has their iPad for 4 years. Load their textbook on it every year, and the school district will end up being a huge savings. So I think that's what.
And school districts do it in different ways. So they have like a rental program, and they also have the option to buy over time. So they do get to use it at home, and it becomes a personal use thing, and they have some liability and costs. They're paying as well. So it's not necessarily the district incurs the whole cost for the iPad, but sometimes it's split, sometimes they do. Sometimes there's grants for big, huge school districts with.
But that was one of John's things that he was working on before he died. He thought that they would go into printing good quality material, curricular material at all grade levels, and the next move he would make would be in, and they've started just like the iTunes. That's where he's picked up 90% of the publishers, and they'll sell them the textbooks for $14.95.
See how it would work if this was, could you give it to everybody?
The little ones would get knocked over with the backpacks.
Probably the older kids will do it the best. The older kids do very well.
That's pretty
Not
fun.
do something.
Can I ask you something about the computers now?
Yeah.
Was that just the CPUs or did that include monitors too?
So to include monitors and our thinking of that is to get rid of the big
The box
clunky
ones?
box
Yeah.
ones that are in this
Because
lab
I was
right
gonna
here.
say-
We're going to, because we took it, I did a couple different quotes. I took it without the monitors and then we talked about it and we said, well, if we're all buying it, if we're buying it together, it's cheaper than if we had to go and replace all those monitors. So we're gonna take the teacher monitors now and put them in this lab.
Okay.
Get rid of the clunky things, maybe keep like 4 for backup.
For just in
We'll
case.
keep some, yes. We'll keep some for just in case, and then the teachers will get the new monitors that came with the CPU.
Okay, so CPUs and monitors.
Correct.
That's perfect. I want to make sure of that because I'd rather see the whole thing replaced once than,
It was like,
you know,
I wanna say $100
expansion all the way
more.
through.
But if you were to buy them separately, they're, you know, if we needed to start buying them separately, it was gonna be.
Much better deal this way. Yeah.
Okay. This time we'll be looking for a motion to enter into closed session for the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the District 5 Illinois School.
Make motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Call roll.
Tiny,
Yes.
Leach,
Yeah.
Nugent,
Yes.
Thompson, Young,
Yes.
Zimmerman, Lambert.
Yes.
You had an item on your Friday phone call about the 5-4 plan meeting that we had from the Office of Civil Rights.
Yep.
Yep.
Piece of information.
Thanks. I'm sorry, I didn't.
Have insomnia and you want to read it at night.
Last night.
Everything you want to know about it.
We'll really have a son.
And you guys, Carrie, Ed, Gary, Pat, you guys can all pick off if you want to.
I would love to.
Okay.
Come on. Well, you could say, kind of late meeting.
No way.